Our speakers today is Ms. Khushboo Nangalia, which is a CEO and a founder of Beyond 99, a multiple award-winning digital. She is a TEDx speaker and a business mentor and has been awarded as Asia's 100 most influential youth marketing leader and a woman business leader in Malaysia. Okay, next we have Dr. A.J Minai, who is a two-time TEDx speaker. He has been awarded as the best LinkedIn influencer by Malaysia's Social Media Week. He is also a top 100 most inspirational LinkedIn icons in Malaysia. And for our third speaker, we have Mr. Alish, who is the head of marketing at Felix. He is a LinkedIn recognized expert, a youth speaker and mentor. And he has been awarded as the youngest most inspirational LinkedIn icon for 2 years in a row. And for our moderator for today, we have Ming Jun. Okay, so before we start our panel session for today, I would like everyone to take their phones out and go to Slido. So the code is 8444. Okay, so now I will leave it to our speakers to continue with the panel.
So good evening, Dr. A.J, Ms. Khushboo and Mr. Alish. So I hope you enjoyed dinner. Yes. So sorry for the late. Okay. So let's start our panel session.
Sure.
So can every speaker introduce more about yourself? We're starting from Dr. A.J.
Okay, all right. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Hope everyone's doing well. Thank you so much for taking the time out and spending this evening with us. So a little bit about myself. I am a brand storyteller, very much like the two of these esteemed, wonderfully amazing people who are here with me. And what we do basically is we help businesses and people understand a more human value and a more human value proposition for themselves and their businesses, both online and offline, right? What does that mean? It means that people have become brands and brands have become people. A lot of people know Richard Branson, right? They may not know Virgin. A lot of people know Tony Fernandez. They may not understand AirAsia. But the point is, people have now become a representative of their brands, and therefore, emotions are coming back in the market. People want to connect with people more than corporate bodies and machines and organizations and businesses. So here today we're talking about the essentials of storytelling. And since all of us in different capacities with our different ventures, Khushboo will tell you more about hers, Alish will tell you more about his. But we do that, we basically humanize businesses and we help them grow through that process of storytelling in businesses and brands, right? So that's pretty much me. Khushboo.
Hi everyone, good evening. How's the energy? How's the energy? Hi.
Come on.
Hi. Whoa, yes. Was it a long day? Tiring?
Yeah.
Okay, so we keep it short so that they don't
Q&A.
doze off.
Yeah. Get them alive with
Yeah,
questions.
we would go for more of engaging activity.
Yes.
So please don't hesitate to ask questions. Slido is good, but we would love a face-to-face conversation because as AJ just mentioned, human connection is what really makes a huge difference. So my name is Khushboo Nangalia, but don't remember that. Do you know kuch kuch hota hai?
I certainly do.
Okay, never mind. You can call me Khush. Khush, okay? Simple and easy. So, I would share something about my passions. I know I got a beautiful introduction from the MC here. He said all the beautiful big things. But in very simple word, I'm very passionate about 3 things, which is branding, storytelling, and women empowerment. This excites me anytime, anywhere. Of course, storytelling is the key in all 3 of them, and it really excites me that I think MJ invited us to share what we know in this particular subject, because over here we're just here to share the experiences that we have learned from AJ, Alish. The reason is that I came to know you guys are from science and chemical background. Am I wrong if I say that, or we have diversity?
It's more on engineering. and
Ah, okay. So all the tech guys are here.
Mostly everyone's engineers? Really?
No.
No?
You and me. Right. Okay.
What do you do?
Computer science.
Computer science.
Ah,
So it's
I
still
did
tech.
computer science.
Okay.
Kind of tech.
Yeah. Represent. Yeah.
No, amazing. So I spend a lot of time running my company during the day, and my evenings and the mornings are dedicated to LinkedIn, running some of my activities there, where I also have a Women of Impact show, calling women from all across to share their stories and experiences. That's a little bit about me. I think I'll pass it to Alish and let him also share what he has.
Oh, that's
Hi everyone.
good.
Was it loud enough?
It was.
It was.
I assume you said no. Hi. Is it enough?
Yes, it is.
Ask them, because we're right beside you, we can hear you.
No, I was just the first time you're supposed to say no, then I asked them again. You know.
Oh.
Okay, so we lost it.
We
Sorry.
have lost it.
Next panel.
Next panel, yeah.
Anyway, thank you, the MC. Where are you?
Right here.
Actually,
Oh yeah. Thanks
he's
for the
here. Even
beautiful
I was
introduction.
It's right there.
Thank you for the introduction, and it's great to be here with you guys, sharing some time with you, and thanks a lot for being here today. You might be surprised, but I'm probably just like one of you. I'm one of you actually, because I'm also a student. How many of you knew I'm a student? I'm studying my Bachelor of Engineering in University of Malaya. But though it is a full-time thing on the paper, in reality it only occupies maybe less than 10% of my time. That's because I'm also working head of marketing at Felix, as our MC mentioned. And on the side also I do organize some events for both working adults as well as students. And one thing before we start, I would say, as a student, don't just focus too much on your CGPA. It is important, but that's not everything. So if you can do something on the side to learn something, that would be great.
Well said.
Yeah. Education outside the four walls.
Absolutely. Lessons beyond the textbook.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And that's my introduction. Thank you.
So we have received a lot of inquiries about what is brand storytelling. So a lot of students they are very interested, but they don't really know what is that. So can everyone here explain more about this?
Ladies first.
I was waiting for that.
Me and Khush have been on quite a few panels together, and that's
Yeah.
my first go-to line. Ladies first.
Yes, every time we are in the same panel, I
Gotta
get
be a
this.
gentleman.
Yes.
Gotta be a gentleman.
Oh yeah, and he is one. You will get to see this. Yes. So what's brand storytelling? Let's not get into the technicalities. Forget about the word. Okay. So just tell me something. The person who is sitting next to you, do you know him a little more than the other people in the room?
Yeah, I do.
Not really. But let's say in the next 30 seconds, you just share a quick conversation from which country you came in and what are your really things that you enjoy together. One of the good conversation breakers are food in Malaysia. I've seen this. I mean, that's like, it sparks up, and that's where the bond comes in. That's exactly what the brands do with themselves to connect with the consumers. Long gone are the time when they only talk about the products, they only talk about the services. Now they are coming forward and they're talking about how exactly they impact your life by connecting with you. Let's say brands like Airbnb, brands like Dove, AirAsia, all these brands, now when they come forward, AirAsia don't try to sell you the cheapest airline, but they instead sell you can fly anywhere, everywhere, right? When it comes to Airbnb, they're really giving you the emotional aspect of what homestay is all about, right? That is how brand storytelling is defined. It is basically how a brand goes beyond the boundaries of just restricting to what they can offer, then to how they can communicate with their customers, build a tribe, build an unforgettable communication between the two. And that's what is brand storytelling. Of course, when we get into the technicalities of execution as an agency, we have lots and lots of things to do. When Airbnb came up with a campaign which was We Accept, so that was a campaign basically they accept all culture, all creed, all caste, all diverse. I mean, that was in respect to diversity, accepting anybody, not concerned about from where you come from, right? When they brainstorm it as an agency, it takes months and months of time. But as a consumer, that's all about brand storytelling. How much can you connect with your people, with their emotions?
Absolutely. Well said.
Add on.
Okay. Kush said it really well. And one thing I want to add to that is, a lot of people tell me that AJ, I've got my own agency as well. It's called Subture. It's a brand storytelling agency. And we've been running it for the last 10 years. It started out in Los Angeles and it snowballed into Asia about 5 years later. And one thing that people notice on my card is CMO, and they always assume that it actually stands for Chief Marketing Officer, right? What they don't know is it's actually Chief Memorability Officer, okay? It's not Chief Marketing Officer, it's Chief Memorability Officer. Now, why is it called Chief Memorability Officer? And why is a storyteller so unique in times like this? Because we are uber distracted, right? You spend more time with your phones today than you do with people. It's a known fact. Any of us, all of us are guilty of it. We spend more time looking at a screen, engaging, texting, booking our next accommodation at a hotel or an Airbnb, ordering a Grab, ordering food at Food Panda. We do everything using technology, right? And so therefore, in a landscape that's that noisy digitally, how do you stand out? Memorability. How do people remember you when everyone is almost like the next? There are so many companies. Do you guys know that right now, there are 37 taxi or car hailing companies in Malaysia, right now, in Malaysia. But the only ones that you know are probably Grab and one or two more, like my car, right? Am I right? But do you know that there are so many others? What are the rest of those brands who are trying to penetrate that market trying to do to become memorable? This is a very big issue in the market, not just in Malaysia, but everywhere in the world. With storytelling, you become memorable. It's the same reason why during Diwali, or you say here in Malaysia, or Chinese New Year, or even Christmas, you see these advertisements coming out of Maxis and Petronas, right? Have you ever wondered why they spend millions of ringgit creating these advertisements where they don't show a single barrel of oil and gas? Neither does Maxis never show a single package, right? Khushboo said it very, very correctly. Khushboo made a really good point. They no longer try to sell their products or their services. What they try to do is stay memorable in your minds, for you to remember them, right? And so that's really important for everyone in this class to understand. I'm coming from a perspective of everybody in this class about to start a new journey in their life very soon, in the next couple of years perhaps. And you're going to go into the job market. And I want to share more about that. I will during the panel. Alish, I'm sure, would have something to say about remaining memorable, particularly when you're a student trying to get noticed in the job market, right? Right? So he's looking at me as if he's stoned. I have no idea.
I remember some good stuff.
Good stuff now, right? That's the effect I have on Alish. Alish gets high when he sees me, right? But
Because you're so hot.
that being said, okay. Censor that, cut that out. But that's what it is, right? For me, storytelling, added to what Kush said, the human connection, about how brands are trying to create an unforgettable communication. The first KPI for anybody, when they walk into a job interview, when they engage any company, when they do a project, when they create a brand, when they're doing visuals, is memorability. How memorable do you remain with your ability to tell stories and captivate people, right? You should ask yourselves that. When's the last time you were able to engage someone through storytelling, right? So that's something I want to add to Kush's.
So how does brand storytelling?
Did you just skip me?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Wait a second, go ahead. I'll go with the next question.
Okay. So how does brand storytelling play an important role in digital marketing? Because digital marketing is more like no communication with people face to face. So how does brand storytelling plays an important role in converting the sales?
I think I let Alish start.
Yeah, okay. Since this is kind of similar to the previous one, I'll share a story. Do you know why I'm sitting here today?
Share with us.
Because I'm a student like you, right? Nobody would expect a student to be invited to a talk, maybe invited to be on a stage in front of many others. But one thing that I think is the reason why I got invited here and I'm having a good time with you is, number one, I share a story with you. A couple of years ago, I could see how quite a number of my classmates or some other friends who were just graduated had so much of worries about finding a job, about I think you all have heard of this, right? They go to so many interviews, they apply to so many companies, and they end up what? Doing something that wasn't even in their top 10, right? And I was like, I don't want to be one of them. Maybe it was a bit of my ego, I don't know, but I told myself, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be so desperate after I graduate. And I was having in my mind, is it possible, rather than me going after companies, I let them come after me? Does it sound a bit egoish? Arrogant a little bit? Selfish? But I didn't want that, I don't think any of us want that, right? How many of us want to be desperate after we graduate? Because you've already graduated.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry. It's a
So-
panel of comedy as well. Jokers.
So that was when I started to think, how can I do something so people know my stories? After we graduate, we are not a person, we are only an A4 resume to companies. Whether they even see us, whether we are even filtered out of many other applications, that we don't know. But something they can never filter out is when they know your stories. They know your journey, they know your growth, they know how you've been showcasing what you've been doing, how you've been achieving things, how you've been learning, making mistakes, trying out and exploring different things throughout your studies. This is a story. A story doesn't have to be something that only a brand tells you, right? I'm telling the student version of what Kush and AJ already mentioned. So, storytelling, when we say brand storytelling, it's not just about companies. Like AJ mentioned, people are becoming brands, brands are becoming people. So it's not like I'm not a brand yet, I'm not working in a company yet, so I don't need to do anything about it yet. No. Today it starts. After you graduate, you will see the results. It's a long-term journey. And that's how, related to your second question, the digital marketing, right? You can't go to thousands of people and show them who you are, what you do, like catch up with them, grab a coffee with them every day. But digitally, you can't do that every single day. Let's take an online store as an example, right? There is no limit how many traffic you can get on an online store. but there is a limit how many foot traffic you can get in an offline store, right? Same thing for branding, for storytelling, for online presence, digital marketing, either for brands or for students, working adults, individuals, anyone. So, I'm talking too much, right?
No,
No, no, it's cool.
Well,
Just go ahead.
Just one last point. Both offline and online are important. Offline, you do things. Online, you do some other things.
that sounds dodgy, though.
Okay.
I mean, imagine you say that in public. Offline, you do things, and then online, you do other things. See what I mean? It sounds pretty dodgy. You shouldn't say that to him. It's being recorded. This is going to go digital, bro.
Censor that.
I'm invisible. I don't exist.
Khushboo's like, censor me out of this.
But yeah, what I mean is they're both correlated. It's not purely online, it's not purely offline. They both go hand in hand.
Right. Okay, Kush?
Okay, so when you say how exactly, I'll just come back to the question first. So you said how exactly do you take brand storytelling through digital marketing, connecting to people when it's not really
Don't
in
know
person?
them,
Yeah, you don't know.
And convert it into sales, actual sales.
Okay, so first of all, let's just clarify this myth. Storytelling doesn't mean that it has to be like this, no, or it has to be like, no, it really doesn't mean that. When you watch a movie and you have tears in your eyes, did the protagonist really come in front of you and act? No. There was a big screen, hundreds of people were watching, and you were as connected with the person just right to you, and you were feeling as emotional maybe as the person who was sitting next to you.
The Thai ads,
Sorry?
the ads from Thailand, some of them are very emotional.
Okay, yeah, I always skip them. But that's the fact. Storytelling or any brand storytelling need not be in person. When I say you connect emotionally, you can connect emotionally virtually as well. Now what happened is, I'll just relate back to what AJ said in the previous talk, just a while ago, which was basically talking about Maxis. So they release ads for CNY, they release ads for all the festive seasons. And I coming from an agency background, I'll tell you the ad budgets are 4 times for the festive season than as compared to the year long.
Absolutely.
Even though it doesn't bring them any sales, because during that time people are actually off. If you're talking about Deepavali shopping or Christmas shopping, it happens long before the festive season. But you will notice the ads on all platforms will just pop up the most during that festive season, because that's the time they choose to trigger the emotions of the people who are already in the emotions of that. I'm from India, okay? I have lived there all my life, but the last 5 years I've been here. Now when I see a Maxis ad of a girl who is coming from another country and is staying in Malaysia for X reason, she's having a festival and doesn't get to go back to the family. Imagine, I immediately resonate with that story and I'm connected, because I'm also in a mood of festivity, but I'm not getting to enjoy the way I have always enjoyed it. So there is no direct conversion that ever happens with storytelling. I tell you a story and then you convert and you buy Maxis? No. Storytelling is about creating a brand recall. As AJ just mentioned, we are on a Uber speed zone at the moment, right? Initially, there was a rule of 7. Getting into big technicalities, but I'll connect back how exactly. What was basically is, let's say I liked something on Lazada. Okay, I like this outfit, I want to buy it. I went there, but I did not purchase. So that they are going to follow me on Facebook, on Instagram, they're going to follow me all the web stores I visit, they're going to follow me on the websites, on the blogs, anywhere and everywhere. They're going to pin me. If I add it to the cart, they're going to notify me on the phone that you added something in your cart but you did not buy. Basically, they follow the rule of 7, which is when you pin something 7 times, to the person, or if the 7 times we get to see the brand on a continuous basis over a period of time, we tend to act. We tend to convert on a positive side. But very lately, this 7 has pumped up to. You wanna take a guess? Okay, just take a loud number guess. This 7 has changed to what?
10,000?
You're out.
Tree. Okay.
Sorry?
Tree.
Okay, I'll just give you a hint. It's on the upper side. So 7 has gone up to a certain number. Reasonably, what do you think it would be? Like, if
1
I,
million, 20.
10, 13,
1 million.
14, 34.
1 million.
34. Imagine.
Close enough.
So the brands have to convince us 34 times to actually we end up buying. Act. That's CTA, which is call to action. That's the whole reason why I said conversion never happens eventually like this with storytelling. No. But storytelling connects us emotionally. When I know a interviewee, now let's say example, if any one of you, we talk and we build a relationship. Now after 1.5 years, you come to my agency and you say, let's work together. I'll remember you more than anybody else sitting in the room because we bonded in the first place. Maybe it was about 365 days ago, but we bonded. That connection gives you an upper edge, exactly what Alish mentioned.
True story.
So, remember one thing, branding is more important than selling. If you go with the mindset of selling, you won't be able to sell. And you can any day be bitten by the people who will go on a lower price. iPhone 10, today it's 1K, tomorrow someone comes in with a better mobile and sells you at 800, people will all go to 800. But it doesn't really happen with iPhone because they don't sell iPhone, they sell experience. That's why. That's my part, so AJ, go ahead.
How many of you guys know who Gary Vaynerchuk is? Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V.
Oh my god. Okay.
Okay, this is shocking. Okay, I
So
would strongly recommend that you look up Gary Vaynerchuk. He is considered the second most publicly sought after speaker in the world, and he is considered the #1 entrepreneur in the world today. Okay? Now, he owns a company called VaynerMedia, which is a massive Fortune 500 digital agency that caters to, obviously, Fortune 500 clients. Now, here's the thing. Do you think Gary spends more money advertising VaynerMedia everywhere on billboards and TV advertisements or everywhere you go? Or do you think he spends more time building his own personal influence in the market? Which one do you think he does? Do you think he spends more money in glamorizing his company name, VaynerMedia? Or do you think he builds more of his own personal brand? Why do you think that is?
Exactly. That is the same question I want to know. Why do you pick
Why,
that?
why would somebody, because we come from a world, bro, guys, so think of it this way. We come from a world, in the corporate world, where IBM would spend their dollars on making IBM's name known. We come from a world where Microsoft, even till about 10 years ago, was all about Microsoft, right? All of a sudden, in the last decade or so, we start to see people like Satya Nadella become more powerful than Microsoft. All of a sudden, people seem to resonate more with Steve Jobs, unfortunately, even after he's passed on, but less with Apple. I know many people who come to me and tell me they complain about their new MacBooks, right? It's almost as if after Steve Jobs passed away, Apple's performance lessened, right? I'm giving you these examples for one reason, because I want you to understand that there is no more boundary between you and a brand anymore. You and your business. Khushboo Nangalia and Beyond 99 are one. They're no longer separate entities. That time when they were different, they're two different things, the brand owners and the brand are different, those times are gone. Branding and marketing is amalgamating into something else, which is called influence building, right? What is Gary Vaynerchuk doing? Gary Vaynerchuk spends so much time inspiring people. It's not just to the goodness of his heart. Let me tell you that. It's not charity, guys. It is actually conversion, but it's conversion in a different way, the way that Khushboo just mentioned to you. It's not a direct sell. It's not a hard sell. It's not even a soft sell. You no longer are selling in this time of day. What you're doing now is you're making people buy. You're making people buy through building your influence. So here's what's happening with Gary Vee. Because I follow Gary Vee, because I enjoy him, because I am passionate about what he talks about, I automatically, what's the word? Trust him. I trust him. Trust is the key. That is why storytelling is so impactful. Because when you tell a good story and people buy into your personal story, just like Gary tells his stories, everyday life, he documents his life. He doesn't make up things, he documents it. What happens when he shares his knowledge and his wisdom of his failures and his successes? What happens? People begin to trust him. What do you think happens when somebody knocks on a business's door with VaynerMedia's card then? What do you think happens? I'll tell you what happens. People immediately see VaynerMedia, they think Gary Vee. When they think Gary Vee, they trust him, right? Do you think the sales cycle and the ability to close that deal with that company becomes harder or easier? That is how your conversion takes place.
So from what I understand, is it brand storytelling is more on connecting with the customer and building a connection with them.
True.
Like creating an awareness among them.
True.
Yep.
But a more humanistic one,
Correct.
not a corporate one.
Okay, so
I want to say something. The student version of the story is, let's say now you've got 2, 3, 4 years to graduate. Are you all in first year? First year? Second year?
Oh, sorry.
Second year? Third? Fourth? Fifth? Sixth?
I don't want to be left out, man.
Wait.
I'm still a student.
Oh,
as well.
foundation.
I'm a student of life.
Okay, there's half of here who don't raise their hand at all. Does it mean you're not listening or you're not interested?
No, it means they're not students, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, the second one first and then the first one.
No, but jokes aside, just to Alish's point, how many of you are actually in first year right now? Does that mean the rest of you are in your second, third, and fourth?
Foundation as well.
Oh, foundation. Oh, so you're in year zero, ground
Okay,
zero.
ground
Okay,
zero.
cool.
So,
How many of you are in foundation?
Majority.
So
Oh, the majority of you are in
That's what I
foundation.
felt. That's what I felt because when he was saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, many hands didn't went up.
I know. I was a bit
So
worried,
they were
guys.
listening, they were interested in you, but you didn't get to the right one.
Shame on you, Alish.
But no, seriously, jokes aside, the student version of the story is when you start to build your brand, not the sales brand, not the the corporate side of the brand, but more like your own brand, your own personal brand. Let people know who you are, what you do, showcase yourself, and tell your stories. After 4 years, so AJ said the VaynerMedia version of it, right? Now let's say you are graduated and either you are looking for investors to build your business, or you're looking for, let's say, a big company to hire you, Google, Microsoft, IBM, and many more. Do you think it's easier for you in that case to get one of those that you want, or someone who didn't do any of those things and just graduated with a good CGPA?
First one.
So this is also in a way to say that it is relevant to everyone. It just has different versions of it. Some want to sell, some want to build influence, some want to get noticed, some want to start a business and look for investors. They're all some sort of having your brand and telling your stories.
I think I would love, it's absolutely correct, and I just feel like adding one important segment because when I spend time with the university students and stuff, and not long ago I was as well. So the fact is, I know there's a group of people who don't like to come in front as well. I mean, they don't enjoy the center space. They feel good when they are within themselves, and they feel good in their own space.
True.
There's nothing wrong with that. First of all, you need to understand. And when you want to share stories, it doesn't mean that you need to go out and you have to become an influencer or you need to show up and stuff. No. You can really start with just building connections with the people who are close to you as well. Or if you enjoy digitally, you can start with just engaging with people. It need not be like, oh, I can't go that wild, I can't create that kind. Don't need to. I mean, you don't need to duplicate what's happening in the world. You can be your own self.
True story. Absolutely.
What Alish is trying to say that put yourself out in whichever way you feel you're comfortable with.
Very powerful. True.
Yeah.
Very true.
So as a students, how are we actually like, how are we going to start to build our brand or about brand storytelling? Like how are we going to do? Like we actually, I think most of us like don't know how we're going to start that.
So,
Can I say it in 5 words?
make a suggestion. Get on LinkedIn.
Yeah. I think all
First
of us
things
have
first,
the same
just sign
thing,
up for
right?
LinkedIn.
You're gonna
No, I
censor this,
think-
right?
Oh, okay.
You said censor, then you said it again.
Yeah.
Legend, bro. no.
No, but with the race, okay, yeah. You go ahead, go ahead.
I just want to say, guys, I know we mentioned LinkedIn a lot, right? But honestly, I can tell you from experience, it is very concerning the number of times that I've gone to universities and had talks and I've asked people, and I can even prove it to you right now.
Correct.
How many of you are on Instagram? Hands up. How many of you are on Facebook? How many of you genuinely are on LinkedIn?
I mean, actively, created an account
Actively.
and forget about it? No, not like that.
You see,
No,
I rest my case.
It should be like this. How many of you have a LinkedIn account? How many of you are active?
1 and
No.
2 and 3
Two
and
3
4.
and 4. You see, this is the situation, guys. Let me put this in context to you as to why it concerns us, all of us, okay? You guys are the future generation. You guys are going to be the future leaders, whether CEOs or co-founders, or the next Mark Zuckerbergs or the next Anthony Tans. I wish you the best, but I gotta tell you something, guys. You've gotta wake up, because you're not gonna be able to create that brand and that storytelling sort of human value to showcase to your future investors, to your future partners, to your future co-founders, to even your future employers, if you don't start spending time more productively online. Which means become a content creator for the right reasons. Not on Instagram. Instagram's great for your leisure, great for your pleasure, great for hanging out. I'm not saying stop using it. By all means, have fun. But spend an equal, if not a more amount of time on documenting your life on LinkedIn so that you can showcase people and showcase a variety of different people how talented or how gifted you are in different ways. Right? It's not about self-promotion, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not saying go out there and show off on LinkedIn. Don't
If
get
you
me
do
wrong.
that, you won't be the one
Yeah,
that did. Yeah.
you won't get it, you know? I'm not talking about self-promotion, guys. Be very careful. There's a difference between self-promotion, which with all due respect is happening a ton of the times on Instagram, all the time when I go there. I coach a lot of people. I won't take the name of the college. The other day I was talking to, she was about 19 years old. She comes to me for coaching, but if you go to Instagram, she's got over 100,000 followers, and she's standing next to either a Bentley or a Maserati or some actor, okay? Her life looks amazing on Instagram, but when you meet her in real life, she is a student struggling to pay bills and struggling to get grades in Taylor's University. Oops, I said the name, sorry. Right? But my point is, what is my point? My point is, don't use social media to create a false sense of success, guys. Right? Alish is absolutely right. But you know, this term influencer is very dangerous.
Yeah.
People become influencers for all the wrong reasons today. Okay? They're not becoming influencers because they want to impact other people and impact their own lives in a more productive manner. They're becoming influencers to create a false persona of themselves, to have a false feel-good factor, and all of a sudden, when they reach the real world, they have a horrible wake-up call. Like, oh, wait a second, I actually haven't done anything of value for anyone to showcase it. Khushboo, you want to jump
I
in?
think that's the reason why Instagram removed the likes count.
Absolutely. The vanity metrics need
Yeah,
to
the
be-
vanity metrics.
Yeah.
It's just the FOMO that's just pushing many of you who have great talents to come forward because you're just petrified with someone having 1,000 or 100,000 likes on that post.
Absolutely.
Maybe you can be way more better than that person.
Yep.
So they didn't wanted this peer pressure coming in, which was just climbing all the mountains possible.
Absolutely.
Alongside as well, I believe in terms of LinkedIn, if you're starting, and as AJ mentioned, it's even Alish mentioned, I think LinkedIn is one of the most powerful platforms, not only for jobs, but going back to the job aspect. If you're looking for a job, the agency side of it, let's just say when we are looking for people, we will look you on LinkedIn.
Disclaimer, none of us are paid by LinkedIn, okay?
Yeah, none of us. They don't even give us a penny.
Yes.
Not a-
You know, but with all fairness, I mean, they probably you should probably.
Yes. LinkedIn,
LinkedIn,
hashtag.
are you watching us?
Hashtag Jeff. Jeff, look, represent.
No, but guys, we really see how you have updated your profile, who are the people you are engaging with, if at all you're creating content, what is the kind of content you're creating. Long gone are the time when we used to check Facebook and Instagram. About 5 years ago, I used to take Instagrams and Facebook profiles of the people we are hiring, but now it's all only LinkedIn. And if you really want to start on LinkedIn, my simple 2-cent advice would be update your profile
True.
with a good picture, not Instagram style, but not really passport style as well. Please don't go to the passport style. It has to be real you, I mean the real casual side of you.
Great.
So start with that, and second, start connecting with people you feel you resonate with. So you are from engineer backgrounds, or let's say any background, and you aspire to be someone. Someone would have some startup ideas already. Someone would be like, I have a dream company. I want to target that. Connect with those people and start engaging with their content.
True.
Simple steps. It would not take more than 10 minutes of your time on a daily basis, and eventually you'll fall in love with the platform.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to add on something. She brought up a very, very good point. Your resume is just a paper, and you can't trust that. I can make a very, very beautiful resume, trust me. I can put all sort of beautiful stuff there. But that means nothing if that's not true, right? But how can employers see whether that is true or not? Maybe, excuse me, maybe you go through an interview for half an hour. Do you think they have enough time to get to know you, your dark side, your bright side, your skills, your talents, your weakness, everything? Even before they interview you, they can actually just take a look at your profile. And when they see you offline. They can easily compare who you are offline, who you are online. How do you talk here? How do you talk there? Are you the same person? That's what I was saying at the beginning. Offline and online should be very related, should be similar. Not like AJ said,
exactly.
online you are like, this fancy person, awesome, beautiful, always like, successful and everything. And then when you're offline, you are a miserable, you've got a miserable life, right? I'm not saying share everything miserable online, but at the same time, I'm not saying be a different person offline
Yeah.
and online.
Don't be superficial.
That's
I think
actually a really good
yes,
point that both of you
Who you
brought
are,
up.
yeah. Like if, you know what others want to see about you when you are you. And trust me, if for one entire year you only talk about what you've achieved, what you've succeeded in, all the beautiful stuff side of your story, they will find you suspicious. How come you're so successful? It's impossible. No one's perfect, right? So you should have some failures, you should have some mistakes. Where are those?
That's a great point, man.
Yep.
So actually, I wanted to add one thing before we go to the next question. That's actually a really good point. So every good story that we watch, whether it's a movie or we hear, it always has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And if you look at the curve in any good story that has gotten you and I hooked, whether it's something that we Netflix or it's something that we watch in the cinema, like Avengers Endgame, you'll see that the story always has a curve like this, right? So the beginning is hopeful, and then it kind of has a plot twist, and it becomes very dark, and then it jumps back up, and then there's a failure again, and then they finally succeed, right? So life is kind of like that too, isn't it? There are ups and downs in our lives, right? And Alish brought up a good point, Khushboo talked about it too, but I think it really brings us to a really crucial part of storytelling, authenticity,
Yeah.
right? If you showcase your authentic journey, and it's not all about self-promotion or showing off, like Alish said, but it's about both your successes and your failures, your struggles and your ability to face those struggles and overcome them, right? I think over time, the employers and the investors and your partners and everybody will come to respect you. Not just look up to you because of you showing off. Yes, it's great, and that's what Khushboo talked about earlier with the vanity metrics. It's a feel-good, temporary sort of a moment, FOMO, right? In which you feel good about yourself. But quite frankly, it adds no value to neither yourself, and actually in the long run, neither does it add any value to your career, right? And she's absolutely right. People Google you now, and if your LinkedIn profile doesn't come up with the first hit, it can be considered quite suspicious by recruiters today. 76% of recruiters today look for you on LinkedIn before they even think about Google, the rest of their Google hits, right? And I think that's something that I wanted to add to that too. Try your level best to add more and more digital presence, not just on LinkedIn, but try to be involved in publications online. Try to get involved in as many Google hits that you can get to your name. Obviously, they shouldn't be you drunk partying somewhere on Facebook, and that's
Only.
the first picture that people get when they Google you, right? Don't do that. I can trust me, I can tell you nobody's gonna hire you, right? But my point is, you know what I mean.
Some might hire them, but for the wrong purpose.
Don't listen to him. That's my word of advice. Right. Okay, so anyways, thank you so much. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So can we actually have some case study of the importance of brand storytelling in your journey or in your career?
You want to go ahead?
I think I somehow shared it at the beginning where my story was I didn't want to be so desperate after I graduate, so that was like my end goal. But throughout the process, it kind of like got evolved, you know, so much to the point that at day one, I had no idea that one day, even before I graduated, I would already be noticed by maybe some companies. I would find some awesome friends, and a lot more other friends actually I know of. Those are the circle of people that they'll always be with you. They will support you in any way they can. Those are the people, because at the end of the day, who do you make friends with? Someone you don't like, someone you hate, someone who's annoying, or someone that you trust and find
Same interest.
yeah, same interest with you, very cool, always laughing, always, you know, with positive energy, someone you trust, right? Same thing goes with everything else. It goes about recruitment, it goes about business partnership, it goes about collaborations. So I think that was my story, how it started, and over time it's like domino effects, right? Once you're in it, you notice more stuff, and slowly, little by little, that's what I was mentioning, that start today, right? Because it will take some time.
The politically correct version of what you said. Yeah.
It will take some time to build it. It's not gonna happen overnight, right? So if you start today, there's no way that they like it, I think. No way that you won't be there in 3-4 years from now. Because you will figure it out. And it is different from everybody. It's not like you can copy someone else. Your story is your story. Your strength is yours. Your personality is yours. And you can only experience it and improve it over time. And how do you know it? Only when you do it. That's at least my story.
Okay. I think me, Khushboo, and Alish have kind of already brought up quite a few different case studies. So I want to take this time to maybe bring it into a more practical context to the audience here, okay? A lot of people, whenever we have these conversations with them around brand storytelling, personal brand building, one of the questions that comes up after class or during class is, AJ, how do I know what is my theme as a storyteller? What's my go-to cause? What is, so AJ, you talk about digital, you talk about, emotional intelligence, you talk about education, but what's my theme? How do I know what it is? I don't know where to begin as a storyteller, right? And that's a very good question because everyone's a different type of storyteller. If you're gonna get on LinkedIn, and if you go and see Khushboo's content, you see my content, you see Alish's content, it's different. It is a different angle, a different approach to it, right? And it should be, because it's not about unique spelt U-N-I-Q-U-E, it's unique spelt Y-O-U-N-I-Q-U-E. Everyone is unique in terms of there's nobody else like you on this planet. Literally, there is no other Khushboo Nangalia aside from Khushboo. There is no other AJ aside from AJ. So that uniqueness has to be unlocked for you to become a spectacular storyteller. You get what I mean? So you have to be really passionate about the number one thing, which is being you. You need to be passionate about that first. Then you'll be able to reach that inner core where you can really share stories that move people. Why do you tell stories? So that people don't just remember or think about you. That's just level one. They feel something when you talk. They feel something. There's attention.
What do they feel?
There's a movement. Well, it's the same thing you feel when I talk, but.
And you silent it.
No, but that's what I mean, guys. So what I want you guys to do, what I really want as practical advice is, how do you figure this out? When you're scrolling on your feed, whether it's Instagram or it's LinkedIn or whatever you're using, obviously not LinkedIn because you're on there.
Yeah.
But if you're on Instagram, here's a hack, all right? This is what I told people in different universities. How do you figure out what really affects you and what do you really like? Just notice what you stop on when you're on your feed, right? This will give you a psychological clue as to who you really are. Let me tell you why. If you document every day what you stopped on and you read back for the last 7 days what on your feed you double-clicked and liked and what you stopped and watched as a video, you will start to notice a pattern that it has similar subject matter on it. And we did this experiment in Taylor's, and guess what? A guy who told me that he has no idea what he likes found out after doing this in between my 2 classes, right? In 1 week, he came back and said, AJ, I'm really into fitness. How do you know? Because I didn't know this, but somehow I was clicking and liking all the fitness-related things on my feed. But I wasn't self-aware enough to know it. So now I know, thanks AJ, now I know that if I were to become a storyteller, I would do it around fitness, you see? So that's a hack for you to use. So go back and document every day from now to maybe 7 days from now. Think about where did you stop on your feed, and don't try to program it. Don't try to plan it out. When you do that, you'll false your own results. You know what I mean? Just go naturally on Instagram and just take note. What are the videos I liked that day, and then do a pattern check after 7 days. Trust me, you'll see a very interesting pattern. You might find out things about yourself you didn't know, right? And that's how you can begin that journey. Kush, Alish, you want to add something to this?
Do we have more questions? Okay, I think I definitely, this inspired me to do a practical session. I mean, do you think we can take 5 minutes of a practical session? I mean, okay, great. Because it's a very good question, EJ. I really get this question so many times that how do I even start telling stories? I mean, how do I even know that I'm telling a story?
Yeah, true, absolutely.
But believe it or not, everybody in the world is a storyteller. It's
Story.
not a big, I mean, it's not like a
It's not
hoo-ha.
like a title,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's nothing. It's just, it's because we are in a corporate world, I think, and we do it for our clients and stuff. It is associated with us, but everybody in a heart is a storyteller.
Absolutely.
So I want to do a small I think, a practical session. Okay, sorry?
An exercise.
Yeah, and an exercise. So everyone has a phone, I'm guessing that.
No, I don't have a phone.
Mine was taken away by Khushboo.
Where's your phone? Oh, okay. Everyone who doesn't have a phone, let me just ask that.
It's in my room.
In your room, okay. You have a pen and a paper,
Wow.
it's even better.
Who else doesn't have his phone with him now?
Clap, 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 clap.
Well done.
Oh, it's amazing. Really, it's amazing.
That's very good.
Alish was waiting to do that all night.
Now he's thinking, why did I?
Alish.
No, amazing. So you just need to do something. I think I'll just stand up for this one. Just take your phone and open your notes or anywhere that you can type. I know a guy in a black specs smiling and hi.
What?
Yeah, I know you were texting or you were typing, so I'll really appreciate if you can open your notes section of your phone. Anywhere that you can type and it's completely blank and you don't have anything else written there. Are we there already? No, come on, Alish. It's a fun thing.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I think you can also do it. You can also do it.
Does it work like this?
Yeah, it does. Okay, so for a moment, just take a deep breath. Just take a deep breath. Please, I'm not doing any meditation. I'm really not doing any meditation. Trust me, it's just getting you in your senses, nothing else. Just take a one deep breath. Done. Now the focus is think top 3 things in your life that is most important to you and write it. Shoot. Whatever comes to your mind. Top 3 things.
AJ Khushboo.
Supposed to write it. Quite right.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Nobody is judging you. Nobody. Even if it's a popcorn that's very important for you, makes a whole lot of sense. Has to be from your heart. 3 things. I'll give another few seconds here. Done? I'm assuming it's not done. That's the reason why you did not reply to me.
Yes.
Done?
Yeah.
So deep into thinking. So deep.
Yes. So you have your 3 things?
Yes.
Yep.
Do you mind shouting it loud even if it's a chaos here? No problem. Even if it's a chaos here.
1, 2.
I like this guy, you know.
Am I disturbing your session now?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. I think hired.
That was my intention.
Yes. Please don't feel shy, and please don't feel that the person next to you will judge you in any manner. It's all about yourself. So just for once, those 3 things, say it aloud with his call.
1, 2.
Family.
Wow, amazing. I know some of you did not say it, but it's okay. It's completely okay. So you know your top 3 things now. I'm telling you, when you really said that aloud, there are stories that clicked in your mind to most of you with every single of them word. Whether it was friends, whether it was family, whether it was impact, whether it was food. You remembered something at that point of time, something. And that's where you start your story. Start your story with yourself, nothing else. Pick one thing from that 3 which gave you the deepest vision of, and you start your story. That incident, why food was your favorite, or why family plays an important role, or why your father or your mother is the one person you can't live without, because I think that one moment that clicked in your mind is what you need to start telling your story with. And it's not about showing and going to Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook and telling that story. Even if you go to the next person sitting to you and start practicing on telling that story, and you do that for continuously 7 days, 8th day you will have so many stories inside you that you will automatically be excited to share it online.
Absolutely.
That's all, guys. Thank you so much. It was actually, credit goes to you, because when you mentioned about the practical experience, I said, why not, let's do it.
But I said 1, 2, 3.
Oh, Alish. I really crushed mine.
See, this is
the
how you say
problem.
1, 2, 3.
This is
Okay?
Here's the
impact
problem.
of
Whenever
this-
we have a panel with Alish,
Yes.
it's too touchy-feely. It's not it. You see, just give it a few moments, you'll find an excuse to come over to me very soon. You'll see,
Alish,
you'll see.
why
Just
are
wait,
you so
before the night
big?
is over, you'll see.
Am I?
So,
I think it's
it's
a bit
so
hot here.
big. It's a hot. Oh, it's hot. Yeah.
Moving on to other topics.
Yes, please. Go ahead. We go to the next question.
So most of the people attending now, they are actually very interested in entrepreneurship.
Okay.
So how we is it that how to say, brand storytelling that plays a very important role in entrepreneurship?
Alish, why don't you start on this one?
Yeah, please.
I've been talking the whole time. Okay. I think I briefly mentioned it, like how it's not just about being corporate or students. Even as an entrepreneur, you want to connect to people who want to buy from you. You want to connect with investors who will believe in your idea and support you. You want to convince other people, other businesses to collaborate with you, to do partnerships with you. And yes, of course, it can be very, very important in entrepreneurship as well. Because at the end of the day, I think, let's take it this way. Before we are students, corporates, business owners, anything, right? We are humans, right? So as a human, you want to connect with others. And storytelling is the way you can build that connection. So now you can build anything else on top of it. Whether you're a student, you need that. Whether you're doing business, you need that. Any way you need that. That was it.
This is going to be fun. So I really beg to differ in this. If you are getting into a space of entrepreneurship, you need not be champions in storytelling. Why? So I have this person with me today. He is my life partner and also my business partner. And in our company, we have other people as a team. If all of us become brand storytelling and will start telling stories, do you think it even makes sense? It will just be a chaos. When you are in a teamwork ambience, when you are into entrepreneurship, I assume you guys will be 2 people working together for an idea. What plays the most important role is whether your product, your platform, your service is there to do something. Is there a purpose behind that or not? Or is it just passion that is driving you? It has to be a combination of two. That's something which is important for entrepreneurship. Eventually, when you have a team, you must have a story of your business. But all the 4 people going out and shouting the story, you don't need to do that. For me, if you ask me, it could be one person. Richard Branson, if he found it, or Gary Vaynerchuk, if he found it. There are tons of people working behind them to get him up at time to document his stories. He always talks about is the camera guy, he always talks about the story guy, the content creator, everybody, and they play a large role. It doesn't mean they are not storytellers, or it doesn't mean they're not contributing. They are very, very important. But being champions in just storytelling will correlate with entrepreneurship? No. That's what my pick is. So don't connect the two. If you want to open a business that's going to rock or that's going to kill Facebook and it's even more bigger as a social media platform, and you know there's a purpose that's driving it, that's more important. Build a team where you know there are minds who can think stories and get out and connect with people.
Interesting.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Well, two of them are. I'm in between the two of them. I agree to a certain extent with Khush. I agree to a certain extent with.
He's trying to
Alish.
play it safe.
But I
Yes,
wanna-
politically correct.
I want to. Actually, no. Actually, I want to go. I want to go back one step from storytelling. Let's go beyond storytelling. Let's go even more basic, right? What's the mark and what's the way someone truly becomes an effective storyteller is through self-awareness and through emotional intelligence, right? When students like yourself find themselves at this stage of your life, most of you think that your IQ is the most important thing that you have. Most of you obsess over your CGPA. So, Alish brought it up, that it's not the most important thing. And I think he meant that it isn't just the skills that you acquire through your textbooks, it's also the ability to know yourself that leads you to success, and your emotional intelligence, your EQ, right? Now, I see where Khush is coming from in terms of becoming an entrepreneur. You need to know who you are in this world. You need to know your own SWOT, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, right? But how do you know that? By building a strong internal emotional intelligence, by understanding through self-awareness who you truly are and who you aren't, right? Gary Vaynerchuk is not Gary V just because he's a smart guy. It's because he's tremendously self-aware. And when you become self-aware, you become really good at the things that you're real about, you're really good at. Because you're focusing your energies on what you've discovered about yourself. But here's the problem, guys. We spend most of our time being distracted by everything outside of us today, that we don't get a chance to truly build what's inside of us, right? So whether or not you need to be a storyteller, or you need to be a chief technical officer, whether you need to be the head of PR, whether you need to be the head of engineering, all of that is irrelevant if you don't have self-awareness. Without self-awareness, without emotional intelligence, you won't know whether or not you're a good fit or a bad fit for a particular role in your life, right? So my advice to you is before storytelling, before entrepreneurship, before you even come to the conclusion that you want to run a business, spend time getting to know who you are. Don't just build your IQ. Spend the next couple of years at this stage of university, spending more time not just partying and enjoying yourselves and studying, but also getting to know who you are truly inside. Experiment, go out there and try something new every day. Discover more of your own self-awareness, because the more self-aware you are, the more likely that you will be able to quickly find out your true purpose in life, right? That's how I feel entrepreneurship should begin.
Absolutely, I so agree. That's the fact. I mean, it's yes, it's
that a-
beyond storytelling.
So we should know ourselves before we starting.
Without doubt.
Yes.
Stories are useless if you're not telling them from the place of who you really are.
The truth, the inner truth,
Absolutely.
and it's a process. You really don't identify yourself in a week's time.
Oh, yeah,
In a
totally.
month's time, I'm still doing it.
Absolutely. We all are.
We all are. I mean, we're still doing it. We're still learning about ourselves. The point is, what AJ is putting across is please start.
Yes.
Well, as I say, the noise.
Not just start.
Oh, boy.
Got it. Yep, that's right.
No, I think just it's
Legend.
important to shut the noise and look into your inner
Absolutely.
compass.
Absolutely. So, guys, just before, I just want to, sorry, how much of time do we have left? Because
Yes.
I really want to really get into Q&A.
Yes.
I'd rather have engaging conversations based off the audience instead of us just answering questions, bro.
Yeah, we can break for 10 minutes now.
Okay.
For Q&A?
All right.
Break for, after.
All right. Anybody want to pee? Sorry. All right. 10 minutes. Thank you, guys.
So we have a question from Ziwei. So his question is, how do we find a balance between what we love to tell and what the audience, our followers want to see?
Which one is it? Sorry.
The second one.
Yeah.
How does one develop a LinkedIn account?
Sorry, no.
No,
how
no, this, sorry, the third one, sorry.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Question?
I'm still registering the question. What?
Read it.
How do we find a balance between what we love to tell and what the audience, our followers, want to see?
First of all, I would like to know who is. It's a good question. It's a very good question.
For the record, I didn't write that.
Okay.
Someone used my name.
Oh, you're afraid.
For real? Oh, so who is the person who actually framed? If you wanna get up
I don't
and
think the framer.
It's a
will-
girl, trust me, it's a girl.
I don't think the framer will step forward.
no, I don't think.
We don't bite that hard.
Yeah. Never mind, I understand. Okay. So we don't get to know who really asked this question. Smart.
Some FBI stuff going on. Kush, you want to take a shot?
Sure, why not? First of all, I think the idea of thinking what people love is a spoiler alert in the first place. You don't have to start thinking what people love. If both the things start at the same point of time, you actually end up not being yourself, but you end up being something else. So a very good saying by Jay Shetty, and I love him. So he says, "We are not what we think we are. We are not what you think we are. We are what we think you think we are. We are what we think you think we are."
Digesting.
Something about the perception.
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 So I don't think what I am. I don't think what AJ thinks about me. But I don't think what AJ thinks. But I think what, okay, AJ believes this is who I am, and that's what I believe I am also. So we have to first crack open that notion and come out in more mindfulness about. That's the self-awareness aspect that AJ just brought in. So the idea of whether you should talk about yourself or whether you should think about what audience want, forget about the audience, believe me. If it's about personal branding aspect, come out as who you are. But if you really come out as you are a stud or you are like the best person in the world, then you're faking it. Everybody knows it. So as Alish mentioned, don't fake it, be your authentic self, bring out your vulnerabilities as well. Automatically audience will relate with you. Now, when you be yourself, you always have this question, who will even listen to me? I am not really Richard Branson, or let's say I'm not Brad Pitt. Why would even people bother to? But the fact is, if you look at the mass audience, they are people like you and me only. And we relate with people who tell things that happens in our life as well. Now let's say, for example, I walk and really my heels just twist and I break my leg, okay? And I talk about this on my platform. The fact is, this would have happened to some of people who are watching, and they'll immediately resonate with the fact, yeah, that happened with me as well. I can connect with them. You don't have to reach to millions and millions at one shot. It's a progressive journey. And that's the one basic reason why now celebrities like Brad Pitt are facing trouble with players like, I would say, YouTubers like Ginny Boy or anybody across the world, is because there has come a time where they make more money than the bigger stars. Because when they started from a perspective where real stories of people like you and me are there. Not like someone who's like, oh, I mean, all decked up, everything is absolutely perfect, seems unachievable, and you dream of that figure or you dream of that looks, but that's long gone a time. And that's why stop thinking that why people will even bother to listen to you. If you are putting out yourself, what is really documenting, the fact about documenting, people will connect automatically. Now do you think you can raise your hands who actually camouflaged in Steve's name?
Yo, CV. Say easy.
Say easy.
There you go.
Oh! Big round of applause. Okay, I have a salute for you. It's not easy. It's really not easy. Good.
Right.
I think one thing I wanted to add is that before we think what we like or what our audience like is about, we should step back a little bit and ask, why do we want to do this? That would be, I think, very important, because what is the purpose of you putting your content out there? Do you want to make money out of it? You want to monetize your content? Do you want to... There are a lot of reasons why you might put content out, right? But the thing is, I think you should really know why first, why you want to do that. And then you will know that sometimes it's not about you satisfying a need of your audience. It's more like you defining a need in your audience. I said right?
Yes, you did. Say it again, so you understand.
It's not about for myself, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's not about
What's the
you.
you should say.
It's not about you satisfying a need of your audience. It's about you defining a need in them. Let's say Grab, right? We didn't know anything about it 10 years ago. We had our tough times with taxis and everything. But he defined a need in his audience. Now we can't just go without Grab. Same thing, but that was business. A similar thing could happen to content as well, right? When you, let's say all these pranksters, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, there was no such a thing. There was no a term YouTuber. That wasn't even a job. Now they make more money than Brad Pitt, right? So they didn't satisfy a need of their audience. They defined a need in their audience and monetized it. So it all goes back to why you want to do this. Then you will see that at the beginning it might be hard. You may not get any interaction, 0 likes, 0 comments, 0 share. But over time, if your content is value adding, it's educational, it resonates with the people who are reading it, then you will start to make it, better every time. You try to enhance the quality of it. You try to change the way you write it. If you're writing it, if you're producing a video, for example, you try to make it more appealing to them visually, more sound effects, better music, better sound quality. Over time, you will tend to figure it out. But at the beginning, know why you want to do this and just start. Even if you don't know your why, just start. That's how I did it. As a student, what did I have? Tell me, what did I have as a student to share? Just my life story, like I just achieved this project, I attended this hackathon, I did this event, I attended that competition, I did this, I did that.
Not the good things. Talk about some of the bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Shoulder injury.
Oh yeah.
Shoulder injury.
There was shoulder injury I had, and it was horrible.
Yeah, the reason why I mentioned that is because you will only remember if he only mentions about the good things. But the fact is, we put out content which is really something that is not someone would share. Day before yesterday, my content was that I don't have peaceful sleep because my to-do list just haunts me like anything. And
Totally convey.
yeah, and I got beautiful solutions from the people. So the important fact is, as he mentioned, very powerful. Know your why. Absolutely. I
I
so
think
agree.
I just want to add one thing to what these two have actually so articulately already mentioned. one thing that I really noticed, because I spent a lot of time coaching a lot of people in different types of industries at different times of their lives. So from students as young as 5 years old at schools, all the way up to graduates who are looking for jobs, all the way up to C-levels, right, and chairmen of boards. One thing I have noticed is sometimes people are way too much in their own heads. Okay, sometimes you spoil the process and the journey by trying to find a logical answer to everything in your own head. You know, one thing I can tell you that's happening in the world today is that storytelling isn't something new.
Yeah.
Storytelling has been around since the Stone Age. You know, before man could even talk proper English or have a proper language construct, they were using tools to draw things on walls in caves to make sense of the world around them. Why do you think they were doing this, guys? Because they were looking to communicate. They were looking to share something with one another. What I'm talking about here, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is, that question makes me understand, that question that you brought up, there is a solution to it. And the solution is that you find something that you're so crazy about, that you love so much, that it doesn't really matter to you whether or not your audience likes it or not, or whether what anybody else believes in you or not, right? Because I have to tell you, as a reality check, there will be many a times in your life when you will feel like no one, not even the closest people to you, believe in you.
Yeah.
Welcome to the real world. But it is in those times that you need to believe in yourself. The most important time of your life is when you feel like the entire world is spinning on you. But you need to have the courage to stand up and believe in yourself when no one else did. Because I can tell you, all the people you look up to, Jack Ma, Steve Jobs, Gary Vee, a YouTuber you follow, anybody you look up to, they've all been there. They've all been at a point where people would laugh at them and say, really, you dude? From 9 to 16, I was bullied savagely. I was bullied to the point where people used to urinate on me on the football field, right? No joke, I'm serious. It's funny now, but when you were being urinated on when you're a kid, it's not so funny, right? And I can tell you right now that I spent so much of time, and I regret this, I spent so much of time trying to fit in, trying to be part of the group. The truth is though, nobody's born to fit in. We're all meant to stand out. When you're younger, some people figure it out earlier, some people figure it out later. But the sooner you figure out that you need to celebrate your differences, you need to showcase that, and whatever you're really passionate about, to answer that question, don't even think about whether or not my audience will like it or anybody else will like it. No, you go out there and do your thing. Just do what makes you happy, you know? If that means that you're dancing on screen in the middle of LinkedIn on a post, so be it. We've got a friend like that, Ida Hanen, who does that. She dances. She puts up her videos on LinkedIn, a business platform. She puts up her videos of dancing, right? And she draws business storytelling out of that, how it relates to her life, how she lives. So there's no such thing as anyone having an ordinary life. Khushboo brought up a really good point here. There's no such thing as an ordinary life. Everybody has something extraordinary about them. The question is, do you even see it in yourselves? Right? Again, self-awareness.
Yeah.
And then you will uncover those gems within yourself. Right? Thanks.
So we have several questions. So yeah, another interesting question from the guy just now. He's born. So
Oh, man. You're on
instead
fire.
instead of asking questions anonymously, I think it's better that I state my name so that people will relate this question to me. Is this brand storytelling?
Brand building.
Brand building, sorry.
Alish, this is more so right up your alley.
Next question.
Okay, I like to say, I mean, are you saying something?
I think is it who asked this? Is it a joke or is it a serious question?
That's why I put it on Alish.
Is it a joke?
No, it's
Or-
not a joke.
It's not a, it's a serious question. Yeah, it's a serious question.
Well, you should really put your name everywhere. If you ask me.
He's a legend.
Yeah,
Okay.
why not? No anonymous. Put your name everywhere you can. On your clothes, on your brand. AJ, show me your bag. Where's your bag? Your name is on your bag, right? Yeah.
It's a good question. It's in my car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His name is everywhere.
Thank you. I had no idea, but thank you.
So
Very nice.
there's nothing wrong with that, I believe, in short.
I think I'll to answer your question in
Seriously.
yeah in a serious way. The fact is, yeah, seriously, what you did here was something that people will remember. Definitely, good or bad reason. Some people will think, he was over smart. People will think he was quite smart. Unique way of approaching it. So be ready for both of them
Yep.
because you went out of the normal norm, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong and right.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. Yes.
So the most amazing part in this is to actually drop a second message there. That stands you out. It's not about storytelling, it's not about brand storytelling, it's about being yourself. That's who you are.
Unique, bro.
Unique.
Y-O-U-N-I-Q.
You got a space in our mind at least now. We remember you for sure, and your friends definitely do.
Calm
Next
down.
time, next time, the Slido happens, they're gonna stare at you when this.
You can't even keep a straight face.
They're gonna
At least control yourself, man.
Actually, next time if anyone frames up anyone else, even if he doesn't do that, he'll be the one who
Yeah.
people will be looking at.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
true. That's true.
No, but you know what? I absolutely, Khushboo's right. I salute you for your creativity. Well done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well done. Okay. All right. Next question.
Next question.
So we have a question from Sun Qi.
Can he or she say the question? I mean, instead of we
Can you
reading
show
it.
yourself and ask the question?
Okay, actually, it's not me.
I can't see you.
Oh wow! Is this something Nottingham thing that?
Someone knows my name and my call signature.
Trending.
Okay, so
It's trending now.
What's trending?
okay, so the question is teaching biomedical class on YouTube is a kind of brand building we can start in university?
Sorry, is teaching?
biomedical
Yeah,
class.
biomedical class
Uh-huh.
on YouTube is a kind of brand building we can start in university.
Now, who asked this question?
Yeah, actually, I would like to know too.
Yes.
Who asked that? Please show yourself.
These two old notorious guys.
So, are you guys like in a gang or something?
Yeah.
Like the framers?
It's like viral.
I know why.
Oh no. Please don't say anything to the camera. It's be on the camera.
Okay, I'm not gonna say it.
Okay. Right. Who wants to start first? Should I?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Gents first.
That's the first I've heard.
So what am I now?
Let's not get started yet. All right. So, about biomedical classes, I think irrespective, biomedical, botany, engineering. I saw a question there about engineering as well, somewhere there, right? The idea is for you to be able to build a brand, it has to be impactful. I talked about this earlier, remember? When you go into anything new in your life, whether it's going into a classroom for the first time, a conversation, a project you take on, it's always important for you to have impact, for people to feel something with your presence and your addition in that process, right? Now, if you take that same mentality and you talk about biomedical, or you talk about engineering, or any industry, it doesn't matter. Your duty is to be able to take something that would be otherwise dry and boring and turn it into something human and relatable and simple to understand, right? Let me give you an example from my own life. I'm very, very passionate about blockchain, right? I'm sure a lot of you know about the blockchain, right? I'm passionate about crypto, right? Cryptocurrency. Now, I talk about it all the time, but you will never ever see me speak on stage about the technicalities of blockchain. You'll never see me going on and on about the hash rate. You'll never see me talking about, Oodling coin. I will never talk about that. What I will be talking about is the human benefit and the impact of how blockchain saves lives. What I will be talking about is how blockchain is helping kids that can't find their parents in India have hope again. What I will talk about is how counterfeit pharmaceutical drugs that are killing people around the world are now going to become extinct thanks to the blockchain. Do you see where I'm going with this, bro? The brand building for the sake of brand building is useless, right? You always have to have a reason why, and that's why Alish talked about the why. But once you have that, make sure you do it in an engaging storytelling manner. Storytelling makes things that were otherwise quite dry and boring into something fun, engaging, and suspenseful and impactful, right? So yes, if you're doing it that way, I would say yes, you could do that. But you need to look at how you can turn biomedical into something relatable, something human, and something understandable that brings value to your audience. And don't just do it for the sake of a biomedical audience. Do it imagining that any Tom, Dick, and Harry, anybody online can tune into YouTube, and if they see your video, will they be confused by all your advanced jargon? Or are you doing it in a way that even AJ, who knows nothing about biomedical, would be thrilled to watch your videos? That's the difference, right? Look at Gary Vee. Gary Vee started out with winelibrary.com.
Yeah.
It was about wine, right? I know Muslims who don't drink who are interested in watching those videos, right? What's wrong? But my point is, Gary did it so well. He brought it to life, right? So therefore, that's how you have to look at it. That's how my opinion is. Push.
I think I'll just give one quick statement. When you create a content, would you watch it if you wouldn't have done that? Just check that. And then you would know whether it's creative enough, whether it's bringing a smile, or no man, I'm just watching it for the sake of.
Yeah.
You would know the answer, but just be honest to yourself. That's all.
Alish?
Exactly, I agree with what AJ said. And Khushboo.
Okay,
That's a
then
first.
let's cover more questions then.
When I don't talk much, they're like, what?
Completely fine with it.
Why are you smiling?
It's refreshing.
Smiling is good for health.
Oh yeah?
So there's a question that's quite similar, so we can skip the question.
Okay.
So there's a question. There's for
Why are we like jumping
For-
around? Why don't we go like one by one?
I think it's voted,
Yeah, I think
the
the
number
top
of votes
voted,
that are
yeah.
highest.
Yeah, let's go by the top. Okay, so top one by one. Yeah, glad that is great. Dr. AJ Minai.
Oh, what's that about?
how did you transform from a computer science student to chief marketing officer? To CMO
Oh.
of chief.
Interesting.
Is it from the guy who asked that he's from?
Yeah, computer science. Somebody who was in computer science, right?
No, yeah.
Was that you, bro?
No. Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Should I even dare to ask who this is? Right? And does anybody want to come forward and share? You know? No? Nada? Zilch? No love? Gonna be a tough crowd? Okay.
I think, AJ, I'll just add a quick thing here. You know why we are asking who asked this?
We want to judge you.
Is there any way to cut Alish out of the video?
That's absolutely humanizing something that's digital to on ground. We want to give a vision to the person. We really want to visualize it.
Yeah.
We want to connect with that person.
Absolutely.
If in future, if that person comes to us, we want to have that story relate back. Now I don't know who is this in a bunch of the class, and we can't really.
Yeah, we're amplifying it to the whole class without really knowing.
That's the whole reason why we're asking.
Yeah.
I sense it. Ah.
Really?
Okay, cool.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, it looks like you and I had to catch a cup of coffee then. All right. I think it was a realization towards my third year before my fourth and final year in the UK where I kind of realized that I can't see myself being a programmer. I can't see myself sitting in front of a computer screen for the rest of my life. I just couldn't. And what was happening on campus was people used to come to me with all sorts of problems that had nothing to do with technology. Problems like motivational issues, problems to do with depression, problems to do with my girlfriend and my boyfriend, problems to do with how do I deal with my dean, how do I deal with my lecturer. And there were problems that had nothing to do with tech, right? And I was thinking, that's an interesting pattern in my life. that even though I'm a programmer, a computer scientist, and I'm busy doing the AIML, artificial intelligence markup language for my final year program, and on all the stuff that I'm doing, I was building a neural network for my final year project, right? And all that stuff, but offline, outside of my studies, I was a completely different person, right? And then I felt there was a disconnect. I was like, wait a second, now I know, at least I have a clue. I'm not meant to be sitting behind a screen for the rest of my life. What I'm meant to do is spend more time with people. Now, and that's where I began my first very big mistake. I made this huge mistake, not a regret, a mistake, of thinking that sales is the answer to my life, right? Because I felt like I was connecting with people, engaging with people, and eventually friends around me would say things like, man, you could sell ice to an Eskimo, AJ, and all that stuff, right? I got the wrong idea, and you know what I did? I did exactly what any stupid kid who wants to make a ton of money quick would do. I don't have an engineering degree, so I can't apply for an engineering job. I don't have a medical degree, so I can't be a doctor. What do you do when you study computer science and you don't have any other degree and you don't want to be in tech? What do? What's the one industry that will hire you without a degree from that industry? Sales. And then I found myself working at a sales job, doing phenomenally well. And that became my career for about 5 to 10 good years, where I did very well, materialistically, but inside, it was chipping away from me, and I had unfortunately become a complete ass. I'll be honest, I'll be completely honest. My 20s were me being irresponsible because I was corrupted by materialistic success, right? And it took a very special person and a very sad encounter with my own father for me to understand what I had become, right? That special person is my sister, who told me one day that, AJ, you have to ask yourself, do you leave people better than how you found them, right? And that sad incident is with my father, who asked me at one point, who told me in his own way, in his nice, kind way that my father is, that he felt that his son is changing, not for the better, but for the worse. And what I said to him was my biggest regret after that. I said, you're just jealous, Dad, because I'm making more money in the beginning of my career as compared to you towards the end of your career, right? If I could go back in time and change one thing, I would change what I said to my father. He was so hurt that he got up and left the table. He never said anything to me, right? But it was after that, my sister told me after a couple of weeks, after hearing from my mom what I had done, that AJ, you need to ask yourself, do you leave people better than how you found them? And in the beginning, I just laughed at her. I just said, yeah, whatever, you know? But I started to realize that I don't. I started to realize that I was an energy vampire, that I was somebody sucking energy out of people, not giving them hope. I was taking away from people. I'd become materialistic. I always wanted, and that's one of the biggest pitfalls of sales sometimes, you know? You become an awesome sales superstar, you sometimes get self-involved, you know, like, hey, you know what? Every conversation is a pitch for you. Every decision you make to connect with someone is something that you want from them, because they are, to you, one of many leads and opportunities, right? So don't fall into the same mistake that I made, right? It took me a long time to understand that the real leaders in this world are not the ones who are the smartest or the best performing, but are the ones who are the kindest, right? And I don't want you to make the same mistakes I made. So that's how a computer scientist went into a chief memorability officer, right? That's it, thank you.
Okay. There's someone requesting for the LinkedIn account. So for this, we will send an email with all the LinkedIn account with all the speakers. Is that okay?
I think we can do nearby.
Yeah, we can do nearby.
We can do nearby. I mean, there's a
Feature.
feature.
Well, how many of you have the app? That's the question. Only a few, okay. It's not gonna work.
I can see a few guys in the audience who are in shock right now. How many of you are in the app? Huh? No.
I'm not talking about Tinder, okay, I'm talking about LinkedIn. One is easy, linkedin.alish.co. linkedin.alish.co.
He just said he's going to send it out.
Yeah, we'll send.
For those who are very interested.
Okay, so there's a last one question due to time constraint.
Sure.
Okay. So there's small questions. How do I really discover myself?
Wow. This is a question we
Wow.
can talk about all night.
Yes, yes.
Kush, ladies first.
After all night, ladies first.
Oh yeah. To the last question.
Yeah.
How do you discover yourself? It's not really a overnight process. And I don't have any set steps to share with you to how to discover yourself. To be very honest, there's no 3 points, 5 points that I can give you.
Formula.
Yeah, there's no formula to this. I'll share how I discovered myself, how I came to know a little bit more of what I love or what I like. So I have been a very adventurous girl in my school life, all sorted, knew what I wanted to do, very goal-oriented person. I knew I wanted to go to which college, which degree, what I want to do, all planned out. But as you say, it never goes when you plan too much.
According to plan.
Yes. Destiny happened, and I lost my father, and that came like a shocker to me because it was something I had never imagined. I mean, no doctor will ever imagine, but the fact is, it just came to me and it blew everything in a second. The idea of being in a particular college or something was vanished somewhere. And I, being a girl child, had other bigger problems to take care of. Being a girl child, being an elder child, my mom was, I would say she was in no state to take care of anything at that point of time, and I have a younger sister. Not even a single drop of tear came out of my eyes. And I don't say that with the fact that I stopped myself from crying it. No, I did not. But that moment, I remember it was 1 o'clock, 1 past 10 minutes when I got the news. And all I was concerned was how's my mom and how's my sister? Because I have a family which didn't stood by us at all. They were instead there to tarnish us in every single way they can.
You mean your extended family?
Uncle, aunt, first cousin. Extended family, no. I would just say the people whose lap I grew up in
Wow.
are someone who wants to tarnish me in all the bad ways. And please, I want to bring it to your notice that I'm a female. And when I say bad ways, literally bad ways.
Oh, that's horrible.
So when this happened, I had nothing but to take care of my family. And that's when I realized I have no time for focusing on things that I may have imagined or something. Why I say may is because it was nowhere in my mind. All I was concerned about that how can I get my mom straight, confident, back to the lady I have always looked up to, and my sister who was young enough, and how can she not miss her dad? At that moment, I had nothing else in my mind. And all I was focusing on is how exactly can I get away from my family troubles, because it had gone very worse. With that, I discovered a new side of me. A girl whose father, about 2 years ago, I'm sitting on my couch and my father comes to me and says, okay, so he calls me with my full name, Khushboo, and he tells me, Khushboo, these are some insurance papers. I think you must take a look at them. I was 13 and a half around at that point of time. And I said, why do I even need to bother about them? That's not something I'm interested in. Please keep me away out of it. I regret it till today, and I have visions of the way I reacted to him. He said, no, you will need this in your life. And I said, why would I even need it? Bank papers, insurance papers, I have nothing to do with that. Flip side, 2.5 years. I was in every single bank queuing up for insurances, queuing up for all my father's account, because my father was very much into, let's say, digital money. So he was not into a cash. So he had tons of credit cards and tons of banks account to take care of and stuff. 2.5 years later, at the age of like 15 plus is when I lost my dad. So I was queuing across all the banks, and that was one vision I had in my mind, that Khush, if that day you would have listened to your dad, you would have known so much about it. So this discovery didn't happen at the point of time when he was telling me. It happened when something hit me so hard. And from there I decided, so I was blessed. My father has been into a mindset of saving.
Wow.
So we didn't go into a deep debts.
Right.
Okay, so we were stable enough, but I was sure I want to take care of my expenses, not be a burden on my mom. Decided at the age of 16 plus 17, I got into working. Taking care of my education, so after school I used to go to the job, do my job, come back. In the college, same thing. So it's been more than 10 years for me that I have been working now. The fact is that the process of discovery is very different for each one of us.
Yes.
Some people are imaginably awesome. They just know what they want to do. But I wasn't that. When the life hit me so hard, had not given me enough time to even cry on that. And I literally cried after 8 to 10 months or even more than that. And nobody knows about it except that guy. Nobody. The fact is, because I cannot, if I cry, my mom and my sister will crash. And that's when you realize, that's the bully thing that happened. That's when you realize that is what made you what you are today, how strong you are.
Absolutely.
Now when I get weak, when I have my weak moments, I really go back on that days and how exactly did I do that?
Yeah.
I really imagine, I feel shocked about myself, but it gives me motivation also. So discovery is a process which happens with each one of us in a unique way.
Without doubt.
Please don't look at someone and see, or look at us. Please don't look at us and say we know ourselves so well. We are so sorted. The fact is, as A.J mentioned, the girl who is from Taylor Swift and she's a big influencer but has no penny in her hand. So what world looks like, it's not important, it is actually that. We have our own pains, we have our own troubles as well. All of us do. Look into yourself, you will discover eventually who you are. So many people are doing startup at the age of like 45. I just met people who are in their 50s. 6 years back they started their company. It's a billion dollar company right now. So they're 44 when they started. And they're still discovering themselves.
Absolutely.
So it's never a journey that ends. It's always growing.
Yeah. Perpetual. Absolutely. Alish.
You can't say this exactly the same.
No copying.
Did I copy?
I'm just kidding.
No, he said
First of
hi.
all, kudos to you, Khushboo, because not everyone can do that.
Absolutely.
And okay, there's a lot I want to say. I don't know where to start. But going back to, okay, I think the situation is like a little bit more, too inspiring. I'm about to cry now. let's go back to a little bit of my version. Let's be a little bit more chill, relax. Let's laugh a little bit. That was too intense.
I'm sorry.
No. I mean, I'm a bit emotional. Generally, I'm an emotional person, so.
I'm not gonna hug you. Okay, okay.
With the
I'll
word
leave
of it, he's pink
I know, he's
already.
First they went high.
that.
But going back to my version of the story, it's gonna be a little bit funny. So I just mentioned 3 words. Who remember those 3 words?
Oh.
First, I said it's 5 words, but it was 3 words, right?
Yeah.
What was it?
Recently,
Who was
I
it?
really don't think you should get them to say it.
I really want you to say it. Who? Say it louder a bit.
Come on, you don't want to take the onus of doing it and you're just...
No, that's the thing, right?
You are aware of
can
fact,
change
it's
the word to
universal,
freaky.
right?
You can change the word to freaky.
There are two things, right?
Oh yeah, freaky is better.
One is you start. You never know what's gonna be ahead of you, and all these 5-year plans, 10-year plans are all, and it will almost never happen. But having that in mind is also good because it gives you a vision. It may not happen exactly, but it gives you a vision, right? It's different from having a plan and having a vision. So having the plan is good, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it's all only a dream unless you take actions, correct? Let's say right now I feel like I'm good at X, so good at X, and I want to continue that for the rest of my life. I do that for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, I realize more about it. I realize that maybe, okay, I can do this. Maybe I can improve a little bit on it. So it will always evolve. It will always become something else. That's the domino effect, right? So that's number one, right? Number two is that Khushboo said it very, very, very right. Sometimes we feel too comfortable where we are. We don't give a single flying about anything else, right? We don't care about anything, what's gonna happen to us after we graduate. I don't care. My parents are, giving me the allowance I need. I'm having my party. I don't have problem with tuition fees. Who cares? But we only get to realize it when it's too late. And you wanna hear my version of the story? Are you sure? You're not gonna cry after her amazing story. When I came here to Malaysia, it was about 9 years ago. I was still in high school. And at the beginning it was alright. My parents were supporting me. At the same time, I was trying to at least work part-time, so at least support in some ways. Not the full thing, but in certain ways. At least a portion of it, right? But fast forward a few years later, it was right after my high school finished, and right before I get to college. Some stuff happened to my parents, and they couldn't afford to pay for my tuition fees anymore. So that was the time that it hit me. I was in the middle of the ocean. It's either I sink or I swim. I only have two choices. There is no one else around. And I would say that was my turning point because I really had no other choice. I either had to, leave the country, maybe go back or do something, or stay and fight for it. And there was about a year gap between my high school and college. That was because of the intake, they have a specific time. So in that 1 year, I worked like almost full time. Beyond full time, I think I worked 2 or 3 times, but they were all like part time. But you put them together, it was like beyond full time. And I earned almost half of what I would spend on my college for the next 2 years, and the rest I could somehow manage it here, there. Like Khushboo said, now that I remember that time, I have no idea how I did it, but I did it. And imagine going through things that you've never imagined, you've never thought of, you can't even dream. You don't know why you don't know, right? Unless you go through it and it happens to you and you're like, holy shit. You're in the middle of this. You have no choice. It's like you're on this roller coaster and it stops right there. You can't jump. Maybe you can just find your way back down a little bit, but with difficulty. And after that, since then, except like very little parts where I really needed my parents' support, I've been fully financially independent from them in terms of everything that I'm doing here, education, transportation, no, shelter, food, everything. And again, you ask me how I did it when I started to think that I want to be independent from my parents. It wasn't like that. It was an incident. I had to do something about it, and then it gave me motivation that yeah, I can do that. It's not like I can't. And at the same time that it was a very tough time, it was also a motivation that I did it so far, I survived, I can continue that. And yeah, that's where I started to work. I've been trying to explore more as well. Okay, this is done, I survived it. What else can I do? Now you're probably asking me, okay, so this is so personal. Not everyone might go through this experience. Not everyone might be hit with a sad moment, challenge, something that you're left in the middle of ocean without any choice. Either you swim or you sink. How about those times? How about those who are living comfortably? There's no issue with their life, right? It's really hard to convince that person about this sometimes because it hasn't happened to them yet. And it's hard. Let's say if I didn't have that situation, if my parents were okay to still support me financially, I still had my tuition fees, I still had my everything sorted out. Do you think it would be easy for me to change my mindset that hey, I should be independent, I should be a little bit more on my own? It wasn't easy. And it wouldn't be easy actually. Because actually that is what sometimes there are some students I talk to about mentoring, and I go to different universities. I get similar situation. How did you start? There's no way I can tell you how I start because there's no start line, finish line. It's always a journey, how you go about it. So
Good share.
So
Good share.
it's very well said, but you know what, guys?
Yeah.
We are taking up too much of time,
And
and I
some-
can see some people about to crash,
Yes.
right? Including me.
Yeah.
Right? So I think we should bid everyone farewell. Thank you very much. From the bottom of all of our hearts, I think Kush agrees, Alish agrees, that we
Absolutely.
very much enjoyed tonight. Thank you for taking the time out. And again, I think as parting words, we'd love to be back. We'd love to spend more time with you guys in the future somehow. Hopefully not in Semenye, somewhere in the middle. Maybe in a cooler place. Mingjun, hint, hint, right? But life is learning, and learning is life, right? It never stops, right? So a lot of people say, they're worried about death. I would tell people to worry about life. Everyone dies, but not everyone lives, right? So go out there and live your life.
You all have a story within yourself.
Absolutely. Walking, talking collection.
Yes.
Thank you guys, and good night.